Hi everyone, welcome back to the Nature Patch. My name is Robin. Thank you so much for joining in on this video. Today's video is going to be on the topic of preserving flowers. I specifically wanted to plant a lot of flowers in my garden this year, both for the pollinators, but also because I just love looking at flowers. I love enjoying fresh bouquets of flowers in the house, and I also wanted to dry some flowers as well. Now there are so many methods to drying flowers, but I find in a subtropical climate like we live here in Brisbane, it is quite challenging to be drying flowers over summer just because it is so hot and humid outside that things don't tend to dry too well, and a lot of the flowers and herbs and things that I like to dry end up getting moldy. But I wanted to try this method of using silica gel crystals to dry the flowers so that I could make some Christmas gifts for my friends and family, and also just wanted to see what the method was like, how easy it was, and how well it actually preserved the flowers. So I can tell you now that I really love this method after trying it a few times. So I'm going to be talking you through the steps that I used to dry the flowers. And I actually made this little picture frame up here. This was one of the first Christmas gifts that I made with flowers that I dried mostly with silica gel crystals. There were some flowers in here, the straw flowers or paper daisies, that I did let dry naturally just because they are naturally a very dry flower. So silica gel is widely used to prevent excess moisture. You'll see it in a lot of boxes, whether you're getting shoes or sometimes food, those little sachets that pretty much draw in any excess moisture in an area. But you can also buy larger bags of these. They're not the most environmentally friendly option, but they can be used again and again. So the ones that I purchased, and I'll put a link in the description box for the exact ones that I purchased. These ones have little yellow beads in them, and a lot of other silica gel will also have a colored bead in it. And these ones change green when the mixture starts to get too much moisture. And you can either put the silica gel back into the oven or a microwave to dry it all out, and then it can be used over and over again, which I really like. I'm sure that there might be florists as well that will sell silica gel, but drying flowers in silica gel is just a really great way if you've been given a special bunch of flowers, or if you want to save like wedding bouquets or any flowers that you love in the garden that you want to enjoy for a long time. And making Christmas gifts was definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to use this method, and it is super easy to do. Firstly, all you'll need to do is go outside and pick any flowers that you would like to preserve. As a general rule, the more delicate the flower, the harder it is to preserve. So I opted for some of the larger flowers like zinnias, preserved really well, calendula, cornflowers, flowers that have a really solid structure to them already, rather than things like, I don't know, like nasturtiums or violas that have a really papery flower petal. They're just going to be a lot more delicate drying them in silica gel. So once you've got all of your flowers, make sure that you are picking them when they don't have a lot of excess moisture on them already. So try and avoid picking around rain periods. you want to make sure that your flowers are nice and dry and look at their best as well. So pretty much as soon as you pick them, you're going to be preserving them. So you can set up this step before you go out and pick your flowers, and that is just getting an airtight container and pouring in some of that silica gel crystals down the bottom to create your base layer. And then once you have all of your flowers, you want to just trim them off at the level that you would like. I like to have the flowers fairly flat so that they're easy to glue onto the piece of paper. But you can also just put the whole stem in, depending on the type of arrangement that you want to create. I found with this method, it was best if I had the flower laying upright and then pouring over the silica gel crystals to make sure that all of the flowers are covered, and try and do this step fairly slowly. You don't want to damage any of the petals as you're putting it on top of them, just because it is going to weigh them down a little bit. And then in terms of drying, it's going to depend on the type of flowers that you have in your silica gel. So if you are doing this in batches, I would recommend putting similar sized flowers in each, because then they should be all dry at the same time. And usually it takes about 2 to 4 days for the flowers to dry. I found that with a lot of the zinnias that I have, and even some of the sunflowers, 3 days was perfect. It was a little bit too much for the cosmos that I had in there and some of the other delicate flowers. So if it's more delicate, I would just do it for 2 days, and the larger flowers a little bit longer. But you can always just check each day to see how they're going by using a little paintbrush to brush away the silica gel, and then you'll be able to feel how dry the flower is. And I didn't mention, while you are drying these, you want to have the lid on your container and just putting it away in a cupboard or somewhere that is fairly dry. And then once they are dry, it is a little tricky to remove them. You want to do this with a lot of patience and be nice and gentle, which is something that I'm not always good at, is being patient. You might have a few casualties, but that's okay. When you lift them out, just be really gentle, and I like to just use a paintbrush to brush away all of the silica gel, or just tap the flower as well to get out any of that sand that might be in the flowers. And then it's quite amazing. You'll actually be able to feel how dry that flower is. And one of the reasons why I like this method so much is because it just retains a lot of the color of the flower, which drying flowers on their own and waiting, a few weeks for them to fully dry, a lot of the time they can lose their color. But with this method, I found a lot of the flowers, particularly like the pinks and the purples, maintained a little bit of that vibrant color rather than dulling too much like they would otherwise. So I've done 2 batches of these, and the first batch was all of those zinnias that you saw, and then I also tried drying some sunflowers, which worked really well, and I think they're going to be really pretty just as singular flowers in our photo frames that I'm going to put them in. But choosing some photo frames, or however really you want to display this, that has a little bit of a gap between the paper and the glass is what you'll need for these if you are going to be displaying them like that one. And you just need a little bit of room between the paper and the glass rather than just flattening that flower. In terms of gluing these, I just used an all-purpose glue and found that they've worked perfectly fine. And I'm really excited to be able to give some of these to my family for Christmas. It's a really nice gift because it's all homegrown, and a lot of times homegrown things go really quickly, or the flowers don't last, or the produce doesn't last. But this is one way to be able to preserve what you've grown and be able to share it with others. Other flowers that you could use, and that I also use in this one and another arrangement that is drying at the moment, is straw flowers and paper daisies, because they naturally dry. Like I said, they look stunning in these photo frames because they just bring so much color, and just a lot different to the dried flowers. But I'm sure you could also use different foliage, like drying pine or eucalyptus would look really pretty in these kind of arrangements. So I'm really excited to keep experimenting with silica gel and see what I can preserve from it. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and definitely let me know if you have ever tried preserving flowers like this, or any other methods that you might have to dry flowers. I would love to know, and it is a really great last minute Christmas gift idea if you're after some of those. I'm definitely going to be making a few more just because it is such an easy process and doesn't take too much time, so I'm really excited about that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for lots more garden and connecting to nature content. I hope you're all having a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and until my next video, happy gardening everyone.